Speak with elevation and kindness. Make yourself a faithful microphone in the service of goodness. Dear Father, thank you for everything. Forgive us for taking so much for granted. Enlighten and inspire our speaker today. Help us to understand the teachings. And please, protect us with your mercy every single day of our lives. And so be it. Please welcome Joyce.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks, everyone, for being here today with us. And as was presented, today I'm going to talk about Luke, the Gospel according to Luke, and why should the text there, why should I care? So why should we care, right? Luke is in some way between all the evangelists, in some ways the one that I personally connected more, maybe because he's also the patron of the physicians, so through all my life I kind of always, in facing difficult situation, I always ask for his inspiration and guidance through my practice. And I'm gonna show a little bit about him, just few information that many of you might be aware already. We're gonna focus a little bit about his message. Obviously, it's just 1 hour. My intention here is not to show all the gospel, all the message that he brought to us, but mainly, I hope at the end we can have an idea about the main idea of his whole gospel. And all my lecture was pretty essentially not 100%, but maybe 90% based on this book. I'm not sure if it's translated to English, but it's the Gospel according to Luke, interpreted by Emmanuel. So it's very nice for those who want to understand better about the gospel. We have the 4 books, like for each evangelist, that pretty much was a group of spiritists in Brazil that did a research, and they kind of collected all the spiritual messages brought by Emmanuel that explain the passage of each gospel. So this book here is just the Gospel according to Luke. So we have according to Mark, Matthew, and John as well. So it's quite interesting, and really kind of help us to understand all those messages, because as we know, the gospel, all the messages are not as clear as probably we would expect, but there's a reason behind it, because Jesus at that moment could not be as clear as he should, right? The population at that time was not ready for that message. So as more we progress and as more we understand deeper their message as well. So when Spiritism came to us to help us through that understanding, and so that's why I suggest, I learn a lot with this book, and I hope to share a little bit of what I learned with you guys today. So who was Luke? So it was believed, this is not 100% sure, because we do not have anything to really prove that, but it was believed that he was a physician, and he was definitely a disciple of Paul. He worked a lot with Paul, and many say that even if he was not a true physician, but he was definitely a physician of the body and of the soul, because all the messages that he brought in some way is a very good guide to help us to evolve, to help our soul, our spirit to improve. And he's also, as I said, a patron of physicians. And I don't think it is here in Canada, but in Brazil, October 18 is Saint Luke Day, and it's a day of the physicians. he was definitely well educated based on all his written and the way he expressed himself. And he was very dedicated to write about Jesus' history and the beginning of Christianism. So he showed a lot about Jesus' childhood as well, and how the Christianism starts and all the challenges that they face. And he was always concerned to certify the truth about everything and try to see if all those information and manuscript that he was collecting, if that was really true. He's one of the 4 evangelists, as we know. We have also Matthew, Mark, and John. And we are talking about each of them in each Sunday through this month. And it is believed that he wrote the Gospel according to Luke, and if not completely, most of the book of the Acts of Acts of the Apostles. So if this is true, again, we cannot be 100% sure, but if this is true, he contributed over a quarter of the text of the New Testament. It was believed that Luke was born in Antioch. Many believes that he was not a Jewish, but this is also something that they are not sure neither. Depends on which historian you look. He had become a disciple of the Apostle Paul and later followed Paul until Paul's martyrdom. Having served the Lord continuously, he was unmarried and no children, and he died around the age of 84. So he, as many apostles, he dedicated his life to follow Christ and his teachings and helping to spread those teachings. What is exactly what is in the Gospel according to Luke, right? It was the original passages was written in Greek, and as not only the Gospel according to Luke, but all the New Testament. Obviously, there's lots of misinterpretations and bias in translation, and that's why we see different messages, different passages. If you read one translation compared to the other, if you go between English and Portuguese, we already see difference, right? Because there are many words that we cannot find in proper words in some specific language. So whoever is translating, try their best to kind of get closer, but obviously when we do that, we always put a little bit of ourselves, right, in our beliefs. So, and that may lead to misinterpretation and misunderstanding. And one of the good things about Spiritism that the light and teachings that Spiritists bring to us kind of help us to get to our own understanding, and as more as we evolve, we can get deeply on that understanding. That we do not need to count on specific translations, right? There are a few things that you only find in the Gospel according to Luke, and this was new for me personally. I never really pay attention that there are a few parables that only Luke brought them, and those are the Good Samaritan, the Prodigal Son, the Lost Coin, the Rich Man Fool, the Barren Fig Tree, and the Great Feast. And I found that so interesting that only Luke brought those parables that I decided to focus this presentation on those parables, because I believe they bring very interesting teachings, and they in some way summarize the main message that Luke wants to bring to us in his gospel. And also he teaches a lot about Jesus' life and his childhood, more than the other gospels. So we're going to start, actually before, pretty much all the parables that you find in Luke, they go over all those themes that in some way is very close to what all the challenges that we face in life, right? That this was thousands of years ago, but we still face with those situations, and we still see ourselves very weak and in a lot to evolve and to progress. So he tried to show about the poor and marginalized, the conflicts, wealth and possession, conflicts and rejection, prayer, repentance, reversal. So all the mistakes that we make in life and all the things that we have to redo and correct. So I'm going to start with the Good Samaritan. I just briefly gonna read the parables, and I will not obviously focus a lot on each parable, otherwise we wouldn't have time. But I just found interesting points that for me was like, oh, this is interesting. So I want to share this with you guys. I think all of those parables are well known from each of you. So I just want to share the interesting things on each one that I learned during this study. So the Good Samaritan, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring in oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, like a hotel, and took care of him. The next day he took out the 2 denarii, this is the money of the time, and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Which of those 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? Jesus was asking. And the expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him, which means the third one, right? And Jesus told him, so go and do likewise. So when we look at this parable, initially, if we see when Jesus was talking about, it's so interesting when we read parables. The more we learn, more we kind of get into those details. In every parable, every single words count. Nothing in the parables from Jesus was just said by no means, right? So when Jesus starts saying, a man was going down, if you pay attention, he was not saying a rich man, he was not saying a black man, he was not saying a Jewish whatever, he's not saying the race, the color, the type of man. This was a man. So it means, is any of us. Is exactly the representation of any of us, right? It was just a simple person, which could be any of us, that was seeking for charity. And that is exactly what we face in life every day, right? And then when he was saying here that they left the man half dead, you think in our lives as well, how many times we see people that are around us, living with us, and they are actually half dead. How do we see that? It's just when you see someone very depressed, or someone full of anger, jealous, suffering, like they are living, they are going to work, they are going to their house, but they are actually half dead. So those are the representation of real people around us, that they're just seeking for someone to look at them and help, right? And we have that all the time in our daily lives, and many times we do like the priest, or we do like the Levite. We just go, okay, why get involved on that? Like if that person wants to be that sad, that's their problem. I want to be happy. I don't want to get contaminated by that feeling, right? Many of us act like that, right? And we just do not have that charity, that good feeling in our heart to help those in need sometimes. So pretty much the message brought by Jesus at that time is that for calling us to the attention around us. We are all together in a journey, And on that journey, we're going to face this all the time. Have that people around us, and what do we do with them? Do we do like the others, or we do like the Samaritan? And every day we have this opportunity, right? So the main message is loving one another. It's something simple, but that we just forget. Just because we close our eyes. And at the end, at the bottom line, what we are just doing, we are just being selfish and doing our own interests, right? Because we are just thinking in ourselves. It's a lot easier to ignore and continue my life. Why I'm going to stop here and help this person, right? So, and also the other way, how many times we are the ones have that? How many times we are the ones suffering for a situation, depressed or in despair, or with a health problems of the physical body that affect us as well. And we are seeking for a good Samaritan to pay attention on us. We try to call for attention in many ways in our behavior, and no one see us, no one help us. But at the same time, we always have someone that can be the good Samaritan, which can be our husband, or like our partners, or a friend at work that for a minute decided to pay attention on you and talk to you. Just by doing that, they are being this Samaritan that Jesus is trying to show in this message, right? So bottom line, in the Good Samaritan, the key message is the importance of charity and the importance of looking around you. Because in order to achieve the happiness that we are all looking for, you need to think in the collective happiness, right? You cannot be happy alone. You're only going to achieve that if all the environment around you share the same energy and the same feelings that you will try. And the only way you can do that if you help one another, if you look around you and search for those half-dead people and be the good Samaritan for them. So in the next parable is the prodigal son. So it's very well known by everyone. I don't think I need to read everything because this parable is very well known and it's longer than the others, so we're gonna waste lots of time if I read everything. But we know it's about the two sons, right? And initially, one of the sons asked for this part on the father's fortune, right? And we can see that happen to us all the time as well. Because what represents the father here? The father here is God. And God did exactly what this father did. He got all his property and shared with us. Each of us have a little bit of God's property. And it's in our hands and our choices and our responsibility to decide what I'm going to do with this. I can be this son, the first son, that just go and use everything I received careless and waste and lose everything, or I can do something good for all those gifts that I received in life, right? So this is exactly us. And if you look around, there are many examples of the prodigal son. What are the prodigal sons in our lives? Are in some way each of us, right? Are anyone who has some talents or who has some gifts, which means each of us, we do have different gifts, but each of us has something special that we receive from God that was given to us to do something good. So we have scientists, we have artists, we have talented people, and how many of them think about that as a real gift and use that for the good? So it's a good reflection for all of us to do like your inner assessment. What I'm doing with all the gifts that I received. I'm the prodigal son at this moment, right? And how many of us waste all the opportunities that we received in life, and at the end, maybe in elderly or maybe even before that, we ended up exactly like the first son, crying in our prayers for God to give mercy on us and give us a second chance. Even we don't want anymore that perfect chance, but we just want some forgiveness and give us the chance to redo something. It's exactly what we do, right? So we see ourselves as the first son many, many times in life, and doing mistakes and then crying and asking for a second chance and for forgiveness. And if we realize the father represented in this parable is exactly what God is. It's someone with a great heart that he just wants the son to regret and ask for a second chance, to open his arms and receive that son again. And that's exactly God. He does not want us to justify why we had a mistake, or he doesn't want us to punish ourselves in order to deserve their attention again. He just wants us to regret and be able to redo it. And that's exactly the father. Once the son started in the parable, once the son started to justify, he said, I don't need any justification. I will give you the best clothes as you deserve. We're gonna do a big party because I got you back. And that's exactly what God wants from us. So that belief of punishment that make lots of suffering on us, that doesn't exist, right? And this parable is also to explain, and it's kind of in some way give us some consolation, because it tells us that all God needs is the true intention in our heart to make better, to redo it. I know I make this mistake. I'm here. I'm ready to restart it. Please give me a second chance. That's exactly what he's looking for. And he's always ready to forgive us, because he knows us. He knows that we are still kids on this journey, and we're gonna make mistakes, right? And also something that was missed many years in this parable, because we tend in the past to look only for this son, the first son, and then we start to study deeper and deeper and get all the messages. As I said, nothing in the parables are by no means. Everything has a reason. So actually, this parables tells about two sons. The second son bring to us lots of message too, and lots of teachings, when he presented himself to the father very jealous and angry, because the father is giving everything to the first son that in his mind didn't deserve, right? So again, at this moment, Jesus is bringing us the teaching that why do you think you are better than the others? Just because you did not commit the same mistake, but now you are committing a huge mistake of jealous and selfishness, right? So actually this parable showed the two types of ingratitude that we can have toward God or toward our Father. That is wastefulness in one side and greed in the other. So there are beautiful teachings, and we can spend like hours and hours just talking about this parable, but those are the main message that we should carry and think, and try not to be either the first son or the second son, because many times we are either one or the other, because many times we are the second son too, thinking that we are actually victims in some situation, that we deserve more attention. Why this is happening to me, since I do my work every day, since I'm here all the time. So that's exactly the second son, right? You think that you deserve better than the others because you are doing your obligation, actually, right? So the other one is the lost coin, and that is, or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin. In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents. So the message on this is very similar in some way to the prodigal son, because it's someone that was lost and was found, right? And here again, the message that God wants to tell us is that there is no lost spirit. I mean, none of us in life are totally lost. We just need to be found. And for us to be found, we just need to act. God is calling for us all the time. So it's just a matter of us to open our heart to the light, and we will be found. And the same thing for the many people around us. In some way, remember the half-deads around us. So there are many lost spirits around us, and it's our job, especially by being spiritists, that we have access to the information, we have access to that light. It's our obligation to spread that light. And once we spread that light, we make shine around us, and we're gonna help to find all those lost coins around us. So by bringing the light to them, we connect them to God, and they will not be lost again. So pretty much our job is clean around us, clean our heart from all the bad things and bad feelings, and let the shine inside our heart, let the light inside our heart shine and be brighter. The other parable is about the rich fool, and it says, and he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, what shall I do? I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I will say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich toward God. And it's interesting because also in this parable we can see ourselves a lot, right? In between those lines there. So so pretty much the message here, that the main message is that that Jesus brought is showing that God does not care about how much material things we build in life. God does not care if you receive an opportunity and we multiply all our material things. If we don't care about all the people around us, about our neighbors, and if you don't do something good with that, that is meaningless, right? Because a time will come that your life in this material world will finish. And those things will always stay here. The only thing that you're going to carry with you is the sentiments and the virtues that you were able to build in this life. So all those material are just temporarily, and we have the fake idea, the illusion that those things are ours, that I built this empire, I make profit on this. I started as just a little bit of things, and I was able to multiply and make this big company. Good, great, so you are a successful man to our eyes, but what else are you doing? And that chance and that opportunity just don't come to your life by itself. If you don't look and say, oh, actually This is something that I'm receiving to do something good. So if I'm able to make profit of this, what I'm going to do with this profit? There are many people around us that needs our help, right? So, and it's up to us to decide what I'm doing with all the things that I received from God in this life. And thinking what I'm going to leave behind me when my time comes, right? Because all those material things, they can expire easily. They doesn't mean anything, right? So remember that once our time comes, we're going to be asked, what have you done? And actually, it's not because there's going to be a God, like a judge, that's going to punish us. It's actually our own conscience that's going to make that. Our own conscience is going to ask us, what have you done in your life? So were you able to really take advantage of everything and make something good? Because it's like a bank, right? Once you receive something and we kind of invest and you think like you want to make profit, you want to make it good, we should do the same thing, not only with the material things, but with our virtues, with the good feelings in our heart, with love. Make the love multiply in your heart, and not only the material aspect of your life, right? And remember that the only thing that you truly own in your life is pretty much your spirit, like you as a spirit. Everything else is just illusion. It's just temporary things. Nothing is yours, right? Only you as a spirit, and that's what you're gonna carry. So take the chance and do the best that you can from those gifts that you received, right? Otherwise, you're gonna be the same man that, full of selfishness, didn't think in anyone else, and just like poor selfishness, decided, okay, so maybe if I store all that, I can actually live better the rest of my life because I don't even need to work, right? I just take life easy and enjoy and take advantage of all the things that are already built, right? How many of us think, oh, I wish to win the lottery because I want to help everybody else? Most of us think, oh, I wish to win the lottery because then I don't need to work anymore. I'm just gonna travel and gonna do things that I like, good things, and take a lazy and meaningless life, pretty much, right? And we see in real life about all those who win lottery, how happy they are at the end, right? Very few of them actually become happy people, so which makes sense. The barren fig tree is the next parable, and it says, and he told this parable. A man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. And he said to the vine dresser, look, for 3 years now I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and I find none. Cut it down. Why should it use up the ground? And he answered him, Sir, let it alone this year also. Let's give another chance, until I dig around it and put on manure. Then if it should bear fruit next year, well and good. But if not, then we decide to cut it down. So if you look and see, this is exactly us, right? How many years we spend in this life not giving any fruit, not giving anything back to all the blessings that we receive, right? And thank God, God is like this man here that look at us and said, okay, I know, although you are not being productive, I see that you have a seed inside you and you can do something. I will give you another chance. I will trust on you. I'm sure you can redo this. And this can be in this life or as another incarnation too. Like the second chance can come in another incarnation, can represent another incarnation as well. So here Jesus was telling us Pay attention on your soil and on your roots. All you need is to clean up, make that soil more productive, like cultivate yourself with good feelings, with love, with charity, with forgiveness, and clean all the roots from pride, from anger, and you're gonna be able to flourish, right, and make fruits. So in other words, he's asking you to free your conscience from all the things, all the vices that impairs you to grow and to give fruits, to be productive, to return to the world all the things that the world expects from you and that the world needs from you, right? So we are always like this fig tree, and it's our decision to see if we're going to stay barren and not producing anything and just to waste our time here in this life. And definitely that can come a time that we can have a shorter life and can be cut because of our own choices, or we can take the chance, the new chance that we receive every day, and make ourselves bloom, right, and return the fruits. And then I think this is the last one, is the great feast. And it's a very interesting one too. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." And Jesus replied, "A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, Come, everything is now ready." But they all alike began to make excuse. The first said, "Oh, I have just bought a field and must go and see it. Please excuse me." Another said, "I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me." Still another said, "Oh, I just got married, so I can't come." So the servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became very angry and ordered his servant, "Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame." "Sir," the servant said, "what you order has been done, but there is still room." Then the master told his servant, "Go out to the roads and country lanes and compel them to come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet." And then reading this parable, I confess that it has been a long time that I heard about this parable. And it was so interesting because I see myself a lot there. And I want to bring this one as well because I want everyone to make your own inner assessment. How many times we are called for the banquet, for the feast, and we bring excuse? And what are those feasts? What is those banquet? Is every time that we are called to work for something good, or to work to help someone, or to work in the Spiritist Center. How many times say, no, I just had a kid. This happened with me. No, I just had a kid. No, I'm so busy. No, now I have exams to do, so I don't have time because I need to study. I need to pass my exam in order to work. And then if you think the next step, oh no, now I'm starting a new job. I need to dedicate a lot to that. I don't have time. And then, oh, I got married. Now, oh, I got a new job. Oh no, like there's always excuse. So there's never, is what I say for people, for example, who want to have kids, and they say, oh, I'm just waiting. Now I'm waiting to finish school. Now I'm waiting to start a job. Now I'm waiting for this. Said, okay, there's never a perfect time to have a child. There's always something going on in your life, right? You'll never be in a situation that you are just doing nothing. Okay, now I can be a mom 100% of my time. And it's the same thing here, to work like Jesus, God actually invites us all the time to work, to do something with our talents. How many times we say no to that invitation, right? When we look at this parable, say, oh, how come those people don't go to a banquet? But we do that all the time, right? All the time. We say excuses and say no. Obviously, don't misinterpret me. It's not that you have to say yes all the time. Obviously, there's few things on your life, and there's many things that you need to care. You need to care about your life, about your family. You need to care about your work. But you need to think, what am I doing? Am I dedicating only for things that affect my own interest, or I am doing something that is not at all related to me, and that is just dedicating a minute of my life to help the others, right? Because that's exactly what this parable said, that for you to share the banquet that God wants, you need also to do things for the others, and not only for your own interest. So this, for me, was like, oh, yeah, okay. So I need to pay more attention of what I'm doing and what are the choices, because for sure you can always have a time. And obviously, it's not only working in a Spiritist center, like anything. In your job, I'm sure there are many times that you can volunteer yourself to something, that you can bring an idea about any action that you can do to collect money or to help others, or any activity that you do that will kind of help in some way the others and not only yourself. You are saying yes to this invitation. But unfortunately, we tend to say lots of no's because our selfishness impairs us to say yes more often to that. And once you wake up, might be too late, and then we have to wait until the next incarnation to get that invitation again, right? So it was a good call for me, and a kind of a way to make me think about all my choices, and that's what I want to bring to you guys. Like, for everyone, do your own inner assessment. What I'm doing, am I being that guy that always with an excuse? Can I do better? So there's always a way to improve and get better, right? So this was the main message that I want to bring to you. So basically, the gospel, according to Luke, it starts and begins with a message about the importance of forgiveness, the importance of regret, your own mistakes, and the message that God is always there to forgive you and give you a new chance. So all this, and especially Spiritism, help us to follow this message here, like bring us the light, the understanding, and this understanding that we are sharing here today, and we are trying to share with you guys, is to help you to open your eyes and open your heart for the message of Jesus, getting a better understanding of exactly what He wants from us. We receive an opportunity every day. The message is there. Pay attention, open your heart, and you can do better, right? For all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to light and made known to all. So nothing is hidden anymore. Everything is there, and it's up unto you to learn and bring it to practice. Because it's not the gospel is our guide, is the light, is the guide that Jesus brought to us. But He doesn't want us only to read that message. He wants us to feel the message, and He wants us to act, right? So I was watching lecture with Haroldo Dutra Dias in Brazil today. He was, I think there's an Spiritist event in Maranhão this weekend, And he was live in Facebook with this lecture. And at some point in the lecture, he was saying about missions, that we tend to think about a mission as, let's say, for example, Chico Xavier, he received in life a very important mission, right? To bring all those books that help us in some way kind of boost the Spiritism in the world, mainly in Brazil, but also in the world. So this man is great because that is a huge mission. And then you think, what is your mission? And you say, I don't have that mission. I don't, I think I just came to life to live and kind of do my selfishness kind of guide me, and I just keep doing things that only is good only for me, and because you don't see you as someone gifted to receive a mission, but actually every one of us has a mission. And at some point Haroldo said, you know what is the most important mission that you received in life? Is the mission that you fulfilled. Because what the meaning of getting an important mission, and then if you come in life and you don't fulfill that, you go back to the spirit world and you go to the umbral or whatever. You don't ascend in life, because even the smallest and in your eyes meaningless mission, that mission will only make sense if you fulfill that. Right? So that is the most important mission. So if you compare, you tend to think about the Chico Xavier, oh, that's the huge mission. Yes, it is. And thank God he was able to fulfill that. But let's say if he failed, and then you receive just a mission of being a mother, which is not simple, but anyways, it's your mission. And then you did that very well. So you're gonna be elevated in the spirit world. And the other one that received that huge mission that didn't fulfill it, he will not get the same treatment there because he failed, right? So it's not the size of mission. It's just remember to fulfill it. Otherwise it will be meaningless, right? So each of us has that. And the gospel is our guide to help us get that mission. And the main mission that all of us carry in this life is the mission of do things good with the gifts that we received and try to improve yourself every day, try to do better, try to make yourself a better person. And this is something that we can do all the time. If we push and clean the selfishness a little bit from ourselves and remember all the teachings from the parables, the ones that I shared with you guys today, and there are many ones in the gospel that can kind of help us to reflect and think, what can I do different? Right? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Joyce, for the great way, I'd say a fantastic way to look at those old and also, at least to me, new parables, right? And give us a little wake-up call on what are we doing here, if we're wasting our times or not, right? So thank you, it was really well done. And I ask if anyone has any questions or comments on the lecture that I had today. Any of those parables, was anything brought that was new for you or old but with a new color to it? No comments? Anybody from the internet has any comments? Anybody there?
No.
Not today?
No comments, no questions.
No comments. Okay, well, so thank you everyone for being here. And if anyone is watching us on the internet as well, now we're gonna stop the live and transmission and go on our passes.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.